No punches, no bell, no crowd screaming. Just a quiet hallway and a moment that would change everything. 1988, Atlantic City. The most feared man on the planet, Mike Tyson, had just destroyed another opponent. Fast, brutal, expected. People moved around him like he was untouchable. But then he stopped. Because sitting just ahead was Muhammad Ali. Not in the ring, not dancing, not shouting. In a wheelchair, silent, fragile, watching. For a second, Tyson didn't move. This was the man he had studied his whole life, the standard he could never escape. Then Ali looked up and smiled, that same smile that once terrified champions. And suddenly, Tyson wasn't Iron Mike anymore. He walked forward, slowly. And then he did something no one expected. He knelt, took Ali's trembling hand, and in a voice the world had never heard before, he said, "Mr. Ali." What happened next wasn't a fight. It was something far more powerful. Because Ali didn't ask about boxing. He asked one question. A question so simple, it broke the most dangerous man in the world. Are you happy? Los Angeles. A television studio bathed in harsh light. Mike Tyson sat there at just 22, undefeated, untouchable, almost mythic. 37 fights, 37 victories, 33 knockouts. Opponents unraveled before the first bell even rang. Across from him sat Muhammad Ali, 47 years old, hands trembling from Parkinson's, voice slower now. But his eyes, those eyes, still carried a fierce, undiminished fire. The host leaned in. "Mike, if you had fought Ali in your prime, who would have won?" Tyson glanced at Ali, hesitated, just for a second. Then, calm, direct, he answered, "I would win. I would beat Ali." The room went cold. All eyes turned. What would this aging, fragile legend say? Ali reached for the microphone. His hands trembled. His voice did not. "Mike, you couldn't beat me." A pause, then a faint smile. "But even if you did, the next day, the whole world would say, 'Mike Tyson beat up an old man.'" Laughter exploded across the studio. But Tyson didn't laugh. Something shifted behind his eyes, something subtle, but real. And later that night, when the camera stopped rolling, the most feared man on earth would quietly break down in front of Ali.
The Rise. Las Vegas. Tyson, just 20, demolished Trevor Berbick in 2 rounds, becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history. But for him, that wasn't the summit. It was merely the prologue. Before his death, his mentor Cus D'Amato had told him something that lingered like a prophecy. "You can be the best, but you'll never be the greatest. That belongs to Muhammad Ali." Those words never left him. Every night after training, Tyson studied Ali, Liston, Foreman, Frazier, over and over. And always the same question echoed: could I beat him? Cus had answered once. Physically, maybe, but you can't beat Ali in the ring because he beats you before the fight begins. He wins in your head. Tyson didn't fully understand. He only knew force, precision, violence. And for years, no one could withstand it. It happened quietly. No cameras, no roaring crowd, just a hallway in Atlantic City, humming with post-fight energy. Moments earlier, Mike Tyson had done what he always did, ended another fight with brutal efficiency, another opponent down, another statement made. The crowd still buzzed. People moved fast, chasing the afterglow of violence and victory. And then, everything slowed. A figure in the crowd. At the far end of the corridor, surrounded but unmistakable, sat Muhammad Ali. Not standing, not commanding the ring like before. Sitting. In a wheelchair. His body had changed. Time and illness had taken their toll. His hands trembled slightly. His movements were careful, measured. But his presence, untouched, still magnetic, still impossible to ignore. A moment of stillness. Tyson stopped. For a man known for forward motion, for aggression, for impact, this was rare. He didn't move closer right away, because this wasn't just another encounter. This was something else. For years, Tyson had studied Ali like a blueprint, watched his fights endlessly, measured himself against a man he had never met. A ghost, a legend, a standard. And now that legend was real, just a few steps away. The smile. Ali's assistant leaned in, whispering something softly. Ali lifted his head. His eyes found Tyson instantly. And then, he smiled. That same smile. The one that disarmed Sonny Liston. The one that puzzled George Foreman. The one that endured war after war with Joe Frazier. Now, it was directed at Tyson. Not as a challenge. Not as a warning. But as recognition.
Closing the distance. Ali slowly extended his hand. It trembled, but it was steady in intention. Tyson stepped forward. No cameras, no audience, no performance. Just instinct. He approached, and then did something few had ever seen him do. He knelt. Lowering himself, not out of weakness, but out of respect. He took Ali's hand carefully. "Mr. Ali, I'm Mike Tyson." His voice, usually sharp and commanding, softened, uncertain, almost childlike. Words that carried weight. Ali spoke slowly. Parkinson's had made every word deliberate. "I know who you are, Mike." A pause. "I've been watching you." Tyson listened like a student. "You're very strong." Simple words, but coming from Ali, they meant everything. Tyson nodded. "I've watched all your fights. You're the greatest." Ali let out a quiet laugh, not proud, not dismissive, just knowing. The question, then unexpectedly Ali shifted the moment. He didn't talk about boxing, didn't compare eras, didn't entertain the fantasy everyone else obsessed over. Instead, he asked something far deeper. "Are you happy?" The question landed differently. It didn't echo through the hallway. It settled inside Tyson. Silence speaks. Tyson didn't answer, because for the first time, the fight wasn't external. There was no opponent to strike, no bell to wait for, no crowd to impress. Just a question, and the uncomfortable truth behind it. Ali watched him quietly. He didn't need words. He saw the answer written across Tyson's face. Why this moment matters. That encounter wasn't about greatness in the ring. It was about something far more personal. A young champion at his peak, feared by the world, an older legend, physically diminished, yet spiritually unshaken. And in that brief exchange, the roles shifted. Tyson, the destroyer, became the listener. Ali, the fighter long retired, became the teacher. No punches thrown, no titles at stake. Yet somehow it was one of the most powerful moments either man would ever experience. Because sometimes the most important battles begin with a single question. And sometimes the quietest moments leave the deepest marks.
The truth beneath. Ali nodded, as if he already knew. "I wasn't happy either at your age," he said. People loved me, but I didn't love myself. Tyson's expression shifted. You felt small? Ali's voice softened. The applause outside can't silence what's inside. Something cracked. No one had ever spoken to Tyson like this. Not his entourage. Not the people who feared him. Not the ones who praised him. Ali squeezed his hand gently. One day, you'll find a victory bigger than the ring. Peace with yourself. And just like that, the most feared man alive lowered his head and cried. The collision. A year later. The Arsenio Hall show. Both men side by side. History waiting to unfold. The inevitable question came. Tyson said he would win. Ali responded with calm certainty. He spoke of Liston, of Foreman, of surviving Thrilla in Manila. Then he explained how he'd outlast Tyson, exhaust him, break his rhythm, finish him late. Applause followed. But Ali wasn't done. Let's say you beat me, he said. What would the papers write? A pause. Mike Tyson beat up an old man with Parkinson's. The room erupted again. Tyson smiled, but inside, he understood. This wasn't just a fighter. Ali was something else entirely. The fall. Tokyo. Tyson versus Buster Douglas. A 42-1 underdog. Round 10. A single punch changed everything. Tyson fell. And just as Ali had foretold, everything vanished. Money, fame, loyalty, gone. Prison followed, losses followed, chaos followed. He became what the world feared, and then what it rejected.
The truth beneath. Ali nodded, as if he already knew. I wasn't happy either at your age, he said. People loved me, but I didn't love myself. Tyson's expression shifted. You felt small? Ali's voice softened. The applause outside can't silence what's inside. Something cracked. No one had ever spoken to Tyson like this. Not his entourage, not the people who feared him, not the ones who praised him. Ali squeezed his hand gently. One day you'll find a victory bigger than the ring. Peace with yourself. And just like that, the most feared man alive lowered his head and cried. The collision. A year later, the Arsenio Hall show. Both men side by side. History waiting to unfold. The inevitable question came. Tyson said he would win. Ali responded with calm certainty. He spoke of Liston, of Foreman, of surviving Thrilla in Manila. Then he explained how he'd outlast Tyson, exhaust him, break his rhythm, finish him late. Applause followed. But Ali wasn't done. Let's say you beat me, he said. What would the papers write? A pause. Mike Tyson beat up an old man with Parkinson's. The room erupted again. Tyson smiled. But inside, he understood. This wasn't just a fighter. Ali was something else entirely. The fall. Tokyo. Tyson versus Buster Douglas. A 42-1 underdog. Round 10. A single punch changed everything. Tyson fell. And just as Ali had foretold, everything vanished. Money, fame, loyalty, gone. Prison followed, losses followed, chaos followed. He became what the world feared, and then what it rejected.
Years later, everything had changed. Mike Tyson was no longer the unstoppable force people once feared. The fame had faded, the money had slipped away, and life had humbled him in ways he never expected. Then came the moment of return. At a charity event honoring Muhammad Ali, Tyson stepped onto the stage, not as a champion, but as a man who had been through pain, loss, and reflection. This time he wasn't there to prove anything. He was there to acknowledge the truth. He spoke about the question Ali had asked him years ago, "Are you happy?" Back then, he had no answer. Now, he did. Tyson admitted he had fallen, hard, lost everything. But in that fall, he finally understood what Ali meant. Happiness wasn't in belts, knockouts, or fame. It was in finding peace within yourself. In an emotional moment, Tyson thanked Ali, crediting him for planting the seed that eventually changed his life. And in that quiet exchange, something powerful happened. The student returned, not to challenge the master, but to thank him. Years later, a charity gala. Ali, older now, frailer, silent. Tyson stepped onto the stage. 20 years ago, he said, this man asked me, "Are you happy?" The room fell still. I couldn't answer then. I wasn't. His voice trembled. I fell, hard, lost everything. A breath. But I never forgot that question. He looked at Ali. I found the answer. A pause. I'm not just a fighter. I'm human. And pain taught me that. He walked over, knelt beside Ali. Thank you for saving me. Ali, unable to speak, placed a trembling hand on his head, and in that gesture said everything. The end. Ali was gone. At his funeral, Tyson couldn't speak. I'll cry, he said. Later, alone, he stood by the casket. Quiet. Still. 30 years ago, you asked me if I was happy. A pause. Now I can answer. Yes. A whisper. Because you showed me how. He leaned in. Goodbye, champ. The real fight. This was never about who would win in a ring. That question was always too small. The real battle was internal. And in that arena, Ali had already won. Not with punches, with a question. A single, piercing question that echoed for decades. Are you happy?